everybody. This is Emmanuel Gomez with LRM Online, and today I have the privilege of being here with Tara Johnson-Medinger. She is the director, writer, producer for the new feature film, My Summer as a Goth. How are you doing today?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for having me on the show.
Well, can you tell us a little bit about this film?
Sure. So My Summer as a Goth is a project that I've been working on for over 10 years now. And yeah, so my co-writer, Brandon Lee Roberts, and I are best friends from high school. And he presented me with the first version of the script in 2009. So, independent filmmaking takes a long time, but we sort of worked the script together. And a lot of it is based on our experience of coming of age in the 80s in Salem, Oregon. And so there's a lot of our life in there of being those downtown kids that hung out at the coffee shop and chain smoked clove cigarettes and hung out with all the other kind of weirdos in town. And, we both have certainly had our time as goths and various other wearers of black. And so that was the inspiration for the film. We really wanted to kind of like throw back a little bit to those coming of age films that we had, were part of our lives growing up in the late 80s. But we also wanted to really freshen it up for today's use. So the film is set in present day.
Okay, so how does that feel to take a project from 2009 and taking it for so many years? I know it's been at some film festivals and seeing the final product. What is that like?
Oh, it's really incredible, actually, and to be able to sit back and watch it in a theater with an audience has been one of the best experiences. So we had the opportunity to be on the film festival circuit in 2019 and to sit among people as they're interacting with the film and reacting to the film and hearing what they had to say afterwards was probably one of the most phenomenal experiences in my life. And it also just was this like a time to take a breath of we've been working so hard on making this happen. And, there's been lots of peaks and valleys. I think that any indie filmmaker can relate to that. Sometimes it just takes a long time to get something off the ground. And that was the thing with this project, is that I just kept sticking with it, even though, we hit a lot of barriers over the years. And but it was something that I believed in so much that I needed to push it through. And so I really put my heart and soul into making it happen. And I think that all of the cast and crew really believe in this project, and the Portland film community that helped support make this happen. That was a big part of just keep going through those barriers that we hit. A lot has changed since 2009. And so, it kind of entered the script a little bit in terms of like things that we updated to kind of look at it from a fresh perspective. We started rolling camera in 2016, in the summer of 2016, and actually shot over 2 years. So that's another sort of like hurdle that we hit, is that we ran out of money in that first year. But I was able to like raise the money, get it reset, and get everyone to come back a year later in order to like come back and shoot the rest of the film. And we started editing in the fall of 2017, which was an interesting experience because that's when Me Too really exploded. And so looking at our film from that kind of a new lens kind of impacted the editing of some things, and some things that we chose to do with that. It's an interesting experience taking this long with the project and seeing where it really needs to kind of like adapt or transform into something new. And I always say that like making a movie, you do it in so many different ways, where you get the script and it's one movie in your mind, and you start casting, and it transforms into this new way because you start bringing these characters alive. And then it transforms again when you're in production. And then once again when you're in post-production. So there's so many different levels of how your movie kind of like forms over the years. And then of course, when you hit what we're doing right now, which is distribution, marketing becomes a big factor in how people perceive the movie. So I always like equate it to a paper mache balloon. Like the script is the balloon, and then you add all these layers to it over the years, and then you pop the balloon, but the essence is still there, but like it's transformed. So that's how I kind of am reflecting on this whole experience.
Well, it sounds like quite the journey.
Yeah, it really
So
has.
I want to move into a little bit about the themes of it. I know that it's definitely a coming of age film.
Yeah.
And me, for example, I can see it from two different lenses because we've all, I mean, we all went through it as teenagers, you know, and me as a parent of a 9-year-old, she's going to go through
Yeah.
it. And so I'm reflecting on how I was and remembering some of the embarrassing things I tried to do, and then kind of looked across the room at her and thought, oh, I'm gonna have to. I'm also gonna have to be supportive when she does things like this.
Yeah.
So the question in all of this is, why do you think that sometimes we have to go to such extremes to figure out who we are as a person?
Oh, that's a good question. I think that, it's really about transformation and metamorphosis for me. And I think that there's many levels and things that happen in one's life that kind of push us through to the next phase. And, I'm a parent too, and I have 2 teens. So I am going through
Mm.
a lot of what you're about to enter. And, and it is holding them and making sure that they have their own experience, and also reflecting on my own experience as a teen, and, introducing some of those nuggets into what may be happening in their lives, and seeing to essentially help them navigate it. It is a lot of emotion during that time, and in particular in our film, Joey, our main character, is going through a really rough time. Her father's just died. She's not getting along with her mom. It's challenging. She's not feeling like she's fitting in with her current friends. They're not relating to her. This opportunity to kind of step outside of her life over this summer experience, where she's not constantly known as the girl whose dad just died. She is given this fresh opportunity to reinvent herself in a way. And I think that a lot of teens go through that, and a lot of teens crave that. And it's a great time to explore those different opportunities, and push up against some of those status quo things that maybe your parents feel like your life should be like, or you know also figuring out what you like as a person. So I think that there's this really neat opportunity during that time in one's life. But also I think that you go through levels of transformation throughout your life. When you become a parent, if you go to college or move away from home, if you experience a significant death, like there are so many moments where it pushes us to a different place and a different perspective. Looking at the time that this film took, there has been a lot of things that have happened just in my own personal life that I grew from, and that made me a stronger storyteller in terms of this particular project. And I always brought that personal life experience into what was being created. And I hope to do that, in future work as well. I think it's really important to pull from one's life. kind of put in, to infuse into your art.
Speaking about Joey, one of the thoughts that I had in my mind as I watched her go through this transformation, um, I just wanted your opinion. Do you think her character, if her grandparents, for example, lived in East LA or Austin, Texas, or New York, do you think she would have gravitated to that kind of subculture that existed there? It, or was there something in particular about the goth culture that you feel really stuck to her?
Well, I think you could see it in both ways. Like, I do think that she was really attracted to this kind of darker side of herself, and really exploring the beauty in that. And through dress and music and these new sets of friends, I think that there was a real attraction to transforming herself into a goth and kind of adopting that lifestyle. And but I think that, if she was in a different city and met different people, that certainly, we've always said over the years, like, there is this story here, but it also could be my summer as a headbanger or my
Mhm.
summer as a hippie. Like, the story structure allows for that. I think that we really wanted to envelop the goth subculture because it was near and dear to our hearts, and also it's just so, like, visually stunning. And I also think that because of what Joey's going through in her own life with the loss of her father, that it was more of a natural attraction than, say, like, the grandparents are kind of ex hippies. Like, I don't really see Joey going down that path. I think she's amused by it, but I don't think she would have necessarily dove in like she has in the goth subculture.
So one of the things I found really, really clever about the film is the character of Victor.
Uh-huh.
Not just how you presented him, but how his character not necessarily developed because of his actions, but because of the other people that Joey meets around her. Can
Right.
you talk about how you envisioned Victor and how you planned him out?
Yeah, I mean, he's like a true and true narcissist. And it was interesting working with Jack Levis, who plays Victor, because he is very opposite of Victor. But each of the actors really talked about how they, really, there was some moments just from their own self that they could really identify with their characters, and really and learn from, right? Um and Jack and I talked about Victor and certain moments, because he is so, like, present and overwhelming, and sort of just is like a bull in a china shop in Joey's life, like, really takes control of her. And but Jack and I talked about, like, there had to be some moments where he wanted to infuse some humanity in him. I think that Victor as a character, as a person, is a really troubled person, and he puts up this huge facade that's very grand, and becomes the, like, life of the party and attention seeker. But there's some real wounds there underneath, and that's something that if we ever re-enter this world and do another project with these characters, that's something I'm interested in exploring with him, because I think that there's a lot more to Victor that the audience can experience and understand, because sometimes people are like, gosh, he's awful, or he's so intriguing. Like, it's a real polarized love hate reaction to the character of Victor, and I'm interested in kind of exploring that middle ground with him a little bit, and seeing if we can kind of bring out some of that interior. Because I agree with Jack when we talked about those, like, moments where he's like, I can't just play this person one-sided. Like there has to be some moments where you see that kind of seep out. And we inserted a few things that are very, very subtle. Eye looks and certain things where you can, if you're paying attention and see that moment with Victor on screen, I think there's just like a quick drop of his facade and then it's back up, right? So yeah, so thank you for asking that. A lot of people focus on Joey, of course, she's the protagonist and the lead of the story, but it's important to look at those other characters that surround her.
Yeah, because the whole goth look that he has really puts on that front, and I found it interesting throughout the film, like I was mentioning, with the help of the other characters, especially some of the other friends she makes, that super cute couple that I really
Yeah,
enjoy.
Ken and Cobb.
Yes.
Yeah, our little, very adorable, loving goth couple.
I went. It's like, wait a minute, this isn't part of him being goth. He's just a jerk, because these other people at the parties, at whenever they're getting together, even when they were all camping, it's like no, it's like no, it's him as a person, not the goth part of him. So I really like that.
Thank you. I remember watching the film with my nephew. I was getting him some feedback, and he paused it and he was like, I'm not supposed to like this guy, am I? Let's just watch. Like, let's have this conversation after we finish. But it was pretty, soon into when you meet Victor, and he was like, I don't know about this guy. His like protection mechanism kind of came up, and he didn't like him. But again, a lot of people really love him. So it is a very polarized view of that character.
Well, I'm going to tell you who my favorite character was, and that was Antonio.
Oh, yay!
I just the way you developed him, where he first comes on screen and he almost like is he a rival to Victor? Like what's the is it because they're they're different as far as he's more punk and goth, or is it a personal thing, or what's going on? And then you kind of breadcrumb us through the film, and I don't want to give it. I'm not going to give it away or anything.
Yeah, please don't. Yeah, that's a big one. So
it's a slow burn that I felt had a really great payoff. Can you talk about Antonio?
Yeah, I'd love to. Eduardo Reyes, who plays Antonio, is just such a delight to work with. And he came in for his audition and he was determined to get that role. And he did, he really impressed us. And I think that, we really wanted that kind of breadcrumb aspect of Antonio, because he kind of drifts in and out, and you want to think about him one way and maybe another way, and then things change again. So it's I really liked that aspect of it, because there's that natural dynamic of putting together a triangle of a friend and love interests, and we kind of turned that upside down a little bit, and I liked how that paid off at the end. And we also wanted to show that really deeper friendship that one develops during this time as well. Joey comes in with a really strong relationship with her best friend Molly, but she also leaves this summer with deeper connections with other people in her life. And so Antonio's character was a really lovely vehicle for that. And it's it I think really opened up Joey's world in this different way, in terms of who she wants her friends to be, acceptance, a lot of different things. And it's very subtle in a lot of ways. And there's not a lot of gotcha moments. we tried to avoid that very cliche moments. It's like we really wanted to be realistic and subtle in a reflection of what teens are going through. And that was a cool thing too, because when we were in production, a lot of our cast, were teenagers at that time. So, I think typically in these teenage roles, sometimes people cast older folks to play teens. And we wanted to capture that moment, not only in those characters' lives, but also to work with real teens that were experiencing some of these things in their own life. And I think that all of the actors, goth or non-goth, really identified on various levels to their characters, and infused a lot into those that character development.
Well, on that note, I would like to ask you one wrap-up question: is what impression do you hope your film leaves with audiences?
Well, I was talking to someone about it yesterday, and she was saying how much she loved it. She was at one of our festival screenings, uh, and she said, I laughed and I cried, and that was so wonderful. And I want that experience for people to have that kind of joyous moment of really like slipping in and just being whisked away by this story. Because even if you're not a teen, there's going to be moments in this film where you're like, ah, right. I remember that. But there's also, there's older characters. There's Joey's mom going through her own experience of grief and raising a child. So for myself, like I identify with Carissa, her mom. I identify with the kids as well. And then my parents are around the grandparents' age, so I can identify with that like generation and how they're handling essentially Joey kind of, pushing the boundaries a little bit over the summer. And I really hope that people just walk away feeling like it was a very authentic um, like interpretation of what it is to be a teen, and that it feels more realistic than some things maybe that are out there right now. I also have encouraged it to be like a parent uh, daughter or parent child like viewing.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a PG-13 movie. It's not officially rated, but I would say that's probably a good rating to put it at. But I encourage that like family viewing essentially, um, and I think that there's lots of opportunity for that right now because a lot of us are trapped in our homes. And so that's one thing that I hope is that kind of like coming together and maybe could inspire some discussions with
Mm-hmm.
parents and kids. But I really just want people to walk away with like feeling good about what they just watched. I mean, it's been a really heavy year. And this is my own personal silver lining of this year, is that this film is finally getting out there. And so I feel like I just want to give it as a gift to people to say, okay, like here's take an hour and a half and take a break
Mm-hmm.
from what's been happening and, experience this lovely story.
Well, from my experience, I'd like to say that my summer as a goth was just very relatable and definitely as grounded as I thought it could have been.
Thank you.
And just using the goth subculture really to resonate that her change, I thought was very, very smart. But I can also see that that's something that was very, very personal to you.
Yes.
You can see it in the filmmaking. So,
Yeah.
Tara, I want to thank you so much for spending some time with me this afternoon. And
Thank you, Emmanuel.
also want to just let everybody know that my summer as a goth, according to my notes here, you can correct me if I'm wrong or if there's any other way to view it, it's going to be available on DirecTV and other on-demand platforms November 11th.
Yes. So I think it just went up on Fandango now. So
Okay.
if that's your platform of choice, you can put it on your watch list. And I think that Vudu and Amazon will add some pre-sale opportunities. So like within the next couple of weeks, there'll be some opportunities just to kind of save it in your queue. And so it's ready for you when it goes live on the 11th. And you can always follow us on Instagram and Facebook. And I put up lots of pictures of the cast and crew and behind the scenes, and just keep everybody totally updated on where it, interviews like this and other things that we have going on. So it's a pretty active platform for us, and it's just my summer as a goth. So follow us.
Very good. Definitely will do. All right, Tara, thank you so much again. And I hope you have a good one.
All right, you too.
All right, take care.
Bye.